was a calm day in the South China Sea on July 18, 2025. The water lay unnaturally calm, and that silence unsettled the American sailors aboard the USS Vanguard. The destroyer was on patrol in international waters, moving slowly to conceal the new experimental defense system known as the Aegis Quantum Shield inside the ship. This system was a huge deal. It represented years of research, billions of dollars, and a dangerous assumption that technology would change how ships survived modern warfare. The Aegis Quantum Shield wasn't just another radar upgrade or missile interceptor. It was an officially experimental system that left the Navy arguing about its capabilities. But unofficially, it was already changing how wars were fought. And the Vanguard was its first real test, moving through one of the most secure water bodies on the planet. On the bridge of the ship, Captain Reyes scanned the horizon through the satellite feed multiple times. There was nothing visibly wrong, and that was exactly what unsettled her. It felt like a trap. Below the deck, the sailors carried out the routine checks according to plan. Their systems were green and their weapons were cold. Everything appeared to be a normal patrol, except for the uneasy feeling that they were being watched. Hundreds of miles away in a secret Chinese bunker, Admiral Li Wei was tracking the Vanguard through screens from drone feeds. The American destroyer was one threat among many, but it was the only one that mattered. He had heard rumors about the new American technology and confirmed his suspicions when the ship came close to Chinese waters. He decided it was time to act, knowing they only had a limited time for their mission before other American forces would arrive. The decision had already been made long before this day, and what remained was the execution. They decided not to hold back in this operation. They had the upper hand with speed and stealth, but precision also mattered, as they were going up against an unpredictable enemy, and any moment of delay would cost them. Intelligence calculated they had less than 2 hours to operate, and if their mission failed, they would suffer the consequences politically and economically. The first sign of trouble on the Vanguard didn't come as an alarm, but as confusion. Their sonar operators detected enemy submarines. Then they vanished and reappeared in a different direction, then faded again and appeared elsewhere. Once was a coincidence, but twice raised suspicion, and Captain Reyes had realized what was happening. The Chinese had made their move. The USS Vanguard didn't just sit there waiting to be hit. The captain ordered a slight change in direction to test the waters, and the sonar screens showed that the enemy submarines underwater moved right along with them. This proved that the submarines were stalking the ship, reacting to every move the Americans made. The captain didn't waste another second. She put the ship into full battle mode. Heavy steel doors were slammed shut, windows were sealed, and the advanced weapon systems were powered up. The quiet patrol act was over. The crew shifted from their check-in routines to high-alert combat mode, moving with the urgency of men trained for war. As soon as they prepared for the fight, the situation on the sonar screens got much worse. A group of Chinese submarines appeared, positioned perfectly to block any escape. They weren't trying to catch the Vanguard. They were forcing the destroyer to stay on a specific path. That path led straight towards multiple islands controlled by China, which were filled with powerful sensors and missile launchers ready to fire. The ship wasn't just being hunted, it was being herded like an animal into a trap. High above the water, a Chinese helicopter hovered in the sky. To anyone looking at their radar, the helicopter was broadcasting a signal that made it look like a harmless civilian aircraft. But in reality, it was a spy plane. It used high-tech sensors to see through the thick clouds, recording exactly where the Vanguard was, how fast it was going, and listening to all its secret radio messages. All that information was being sent back to the Chinese military, making sure the trap was perfect. The time for watching was over, and they began following quick, direct orders. Meanwhile, radar operators on the Vanguard saw foreign planes' signals through their screens coming toward them from far away. The planes jammed their signals quickly, as if they were trying to see how much the Americans could actually detect. The ship activated its advanced defense system, the Quantum Shield. Inside the vessel, powerful computers quickly analyzed the threats at a speed no person could match, using a huge amount of energy to power up. At first, the system worked perfectly. It sent out electronic signals that jammed the enemy's equipment, forcing their planes to turn away in confusion. Then, the system made a mistake. It fired missiles at fake targets that weren't really there, leaving visible smoke trails across the sky. This mistake revealed a critical piece of information to the enemy. The Americans had shown how their defense system reacted when it was under pressure. Underwater, the Chinese submarines got the signal they needed. They moved closer and fired. Missiles shot out of the water and sped toward the Vanguard, flying low and fast. Alarms blared throughout the ship. The shield fought back immediately, using lasers and electronic signals to stop the attack. 2 missiles were blown up. A third one missed its target and exploded on its own. The 4th missile exploded near the ship. It didn't destroy the vessel, but the blast sent out an electronic shockwave that messed everything up. The screens went black, and the computers froze. The quantum shield had lost power, leaving the ship weakened and vulnerable. The next part of the attack used cheaper, slower weapons. Dozens of drones flew towards the destroyer from hidden spots. Individually, they were harmless, but as a group, they were a real problem. The ship's guns opened fire, destroying the first few drones, which fell into the sea in flames. The remaining drones did not retreat. They changed their flight patterns, making it hard for the ship's computers to predict where they would go and shoot them accurately. Several drones managed to hit the ship, causing explosions and starting fires that exhausted the already busy repair crews. This attack was not meant to sink the ship, but to distract the crew and keep them busy. While the Vanguard was fighting the swarm, Chinese helicopters flew in low, staying hidden beneath the radar coverage by blending in with the smoke and electronic mess. The ship's crew didn't see them until they were too close. Troops from the helicopters landed on the deck and a fierce and violent battle started right away. Gunshots echoed off the metal surfaces. American Marines fought the attackers up close, making them fight hard for every foot of ground they took. Men were killed, and blood mixed with seawater on the deck. The attackers kept pushing forward. They weren't trying to take control of the ship. Their target was deep inside. In a room at the bottom of the ship, the Quantum Shield's computer was still running. Lieutenant Marcus Hale watched the screen as the sound of fighting got closer. His orders were clear. If the enemy was about to capture the system, he had to destroy it so they couldn't have it. It was a huge loss, but letting the enemy steal it was even worse. He started the countdown to blow it up. The attackers reached the lab, and a short, violent fight broke out in the cramped room. The enemy knew exactly where to go because they had studied the ship's layout. Outside, the American defenders shot down one helicopter, and another flew away. But that was a distraction for a small submarine to surface unnoticed next to the ship. The attackers dragged the heavy computer core across the deck and loaded it into the submarine. Even though the ship's guns fired at the water, the submarine dove under the surface and escaped with the prize. Torpedoes were fired at the submarine, but it used decoys to escape. The sea shook with explosions, but the submarine got away. Back on the Vanguard, the countdown had reached 0, but nothing happened. The crew realized too late that they had made a grave mistake by starting the wrong sequence. The computer didn't blow up, and by the time American backup arrived, the fight was over. The ship was damaged and smoking, but it was still floating. However, their most valuable technology was gone. In a secure bunker, the Chinese Admiral Li was pleased. The mission took only 87 minutes, but it changed the power balance between the two countries. It wouldn't last forever, but it gave his side a major advantage, at least in the short term.